Okay, what's up guys? Let's lower the volume here. I think I usually set it to like 32 something, and then let's get this down. Hey, what's up everybody? Somebody want to give me like an audio confirmation that the volume is decent? I imagine Scouts like being like this super tall and beef guy. Probably don't want to find Scouts like freaking mod. Like 2 minutes into the mod and you're already trolling me hard rated? That's disappointing. Disappointing. Hey, welcome cool nerd. Glad you can join the stream. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so now Rastamouse wants to join in. Okay. Okay, I'll get Rasta. Give me a second here, guys. I'm gonna get Rastamouse on the call. The music is gonna disappear for a bit, but it's gonna be fine, okay? Okay, so I tried to add the Rasta doll or whatever, but Google failed me. It's one of those fake PNGs. Okay, so let me increase the volume. Okay, try to talk, Rasta.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Hey, can you hear me, guys? All that time for that image. Mood's giving me critiques. Okay, I have another one. Let's see if this one goes. It's like a really jank one. It's even worse. KKK, Rasta, Teddy, something, something, clipboard Teddy. Oh, it doesn't. Oh, damn it. Okay, sorry.
So you
Just
can
gonna have
blame
to.
Google, but it's actually your fault for being a rubbish streamer.
You're not gonna give me the benefit of the doubt, even? That's so bad.
Well, you failed twice in a row, so yeah.
Okay, give me a third chance. I swear to God, that one was the. Okay, I'll pull a photo. I actually have Photoshop on this machine. Give me a minute, guys. I have to fix something very important. Quick select tool. Hey,
What do
what's
you
up,
use?
Zach?
Do you use OBS?
Yeah.
So I think you have to do some sort of bullshit chroma keying
No.
to get
No
rid of the
way.
background. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'm gonna give it one more try. You can filter for transparent images on... Oh, okay. Well, I'm learning stuff today. I do know you can filter on PNGs. Is that what you mean by transparent? Usually PNGs are, but they don't. Sometimes they fool you. Okay, I can even have a cooler mouth. What? Photoshop is crashing. Okay, never mind. I'm giving up on the Rasta Mouse picture. You have his voice. Okay.
I'd rather the picture.
The voice is more than enough. You don't need his beautiful furry face. Okay, let's see if my VM is working. Let's try not to expose anything work related. That's always my worst nightmare. Literally keeps me awake at night. Oh, I have to turn on my webcam as well. There we go. There we go. There's fat me. Yay. Ask Rasta. Oh yeah, Rasta, since I have you on stream, when is RTO2 coming out?
Later.
Later.
Soon.
Okay. That's one of the better answers I've gotten by asking that question. I mean, if there is a time to like tease or leak RTO2, this is the time. Like exclusive coming to you live from Flangvik's channel. We got some exclusive leaks about the Red Team Operations 2. So Rasta Mouse, do you have any leaks for us? Anything?
Well, I mean, technically, if you know the URL, the syllabus is already on the website.
Oh. Somebody
Like
hit that.
That's classic security through obscurity.
Yeah, that's the best kind of security when the website is just protected by some weird URL or some yeah. Okay.
It's not even like a secret URL. It's literally like /courses / like RTO2.
It's not. Oh, it's the, you actually fooled me on 1st April though. You actually fooled me.
Oh look, he's found it. Look, dude in the chat.
Yeah, is that the same link that you got me with on the 1st of April?
No, and that's the legit one. That April one was brilliant.
Yeah, you actually got me though. I was so excited. I like plotted it into Twitter. Oh my god! And then I saw it, and I posted the GIF, and I think you fell off your chair or something because you could like follow what happened live on Twitter.
Yeah, because if it's anything like what I do, is I'll see a tweet and I'll like it and retweet it first, and then actually go and read it. And then it's only when you've gone and read it, it's like, oh fuck.
Okay, wait. I'm seeing process injection techniques, attack surface reduction, ASR. Probably going to have something about the mark of the web, as it's going to be relevant later this year. Hopefully, I guess. ETW, sleep mask kit. I'm seeing a lot of cool stuff.
There's a bunch of stuff that has to be changed now. But
due to the mark of the web stuff, or
yeah, and Counter-Strike 4.6 they recently changed all their kits, didn't they? So they've what have they done? They've conglomerated all of their kits into one single kit, so that changes things slightly.
Let's see if I can get this exclusive leak up on my screen here, and we can watch it on stream. Exclusive leak. I like it. I feel like one of those 100 or like one of those thousands of YouTube channels that basically live on Apple leaks every week. Love it. Tell my wife Katie hello Katie. I once retweeted a zip bomb on GitHub because I didn't actually read the content. Wasn't it? You guys remember the GitHub or the fake 0 day or no, the fake CVE exploit that was like super early out, and then turns out it was just like a PowerShell rickrolling computers, and he had like statistics on how many people actually ran it. What was that? You recall that, Rasta? You probably do.
I don't know.
I was like making its rounds on Twitter. Somebody uploaded like a CV for a recent exploit, and a bunch of people just ran it blindly, and he had like statistics on it.
Which is alarmingly high.
Which I should like probably have on Sharp Collection, considering I'm guessing people are just running those binaries, even I'm telling them don't to. I'm sorry for my voice. I recently my bottle of water tried to kill me just before going live.
That's what happens when you drink water. You should drink beer.
Yeah, usually I go and get my tea and I microwave some tea, and it's way better. But
see, my justification for drinking beer all the time is in the UK back in Victorian days, in London we had a bout of was it cholera or something, some sort of waterborne disease, right? And it basically killed half the population of London because the drinking water was contaminated. And somebody managed to figure out that it was in the water because some factories along the river, their workers drank nothing but beer and they weren't getting ill, and therefore beer is better than water.
So by the logic of, by the fear of being contaminated or dying from poisonous water, beer is better than water. That's your point, right?
Yeah, because the bad bugs can't survive in the beer.
And especially, that could go for vodka as well. Vodka is like super sterile because, vodka.
Yeah, I would actually highly encourage people to drink any form of alcohol over water.
Yeah, I think we have to break the stream, guys. I'm gonna have to go offline. Twitch police is raiding me right now. Welcome back to the stream. I highly encourage everybody to just drink alcohol and never drink water in the off chance that you might get poisoned. If you are over 18, disclaimer. Hashtag stay hydrated. Oh, the logic.
Educational stream.
Yeah, we went from being a technical hacking stream to a pro bear stream, telling people to stay hydrated by drinking alcohol. That makes sense. Well, in that case, I'm gonna be awfully hydrated on the company party this week. Gonna be so hydrated.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if we can actually get SharpC2 up running. So do you wanna? I think everybody in the chat knows who you are, even though that sounds like to say, but
Well, my condolences. Yeah, my condolences if you've had a prior engagement with me.
Wow. Went from being retweeted by the Twitch community to being banned by the Twitch community. Keck. Rip. Okay, so I think I know why SharpC2 exists. I'm guessing it's like the precursor of the C2 development course that you have. And by the way, guys, I actually updated my... Okay, sorry, let me just plug my... I've just plugged my living here. Plug the living shit out of this. Give me a second. So if you scroll down on the stream, I updated the sections. So you have all my affiliate links to 0 Point Security, the courses. There's this guy called Rastamouse who runs a company called 0 Point Security and has a bunch of really cool courses. And I just happen to have some affiliate links for them. So if you want to, I've done the Red Team Operations course myself. I haven't done the other two. If the other two are as good as the first one, I can highly recommend all of them. So if you're purchasing anything from 0 Point Security, be sure to use my poor little affiliate link. Don't use what's it called, John Hammond's link. He has too many viewers and stuff. You know, he's making good living. Don't use his links. Use my links, okay? Use my affiliate links. And then also I now have like a donate button. So if you want to, feed my depression, if you want to buy me beer money so I can fuel my depression, you can do that. If don't, just don't. Don't do that. No need to do that. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's... So as I said, I think SharpC2, the reason it exists... So I recall you doing like a YouTube series on this. Do you want to talk about how that started?
Well, SharpC2 as an idea has existed in some form or another as far back as 2018. And it was originally... I worked on it with Adam Chester, XPN on Twitter, just as a fun hobby, really. And he was on paternity leave from his latest reproductive activities. So he had...
That's the most technical way of saying he had a kid ever. He had to take a vacation due to his ability to technically reproduce.
Yeah. So he had some time to kill, and this was about the time that I was learning C#, and I wanted a project to help me do that because I learn by doing, really. So we collaborated on this framework called SharpC2, and whilst we were working on it, Ryan Cobb released Covenant, and then SharpC2 kind of dropped off, and then I picked it up again, and I thought it'd be interesting to do a YouTube series on it. And really, SharpC2 has gone through like so many changes. It's never really become like a finalized product, because I use it as an opportunity to experiment with different ideas, and just learning random stuff really. So I don't really know what to say about SharpC2. The the current status of it in the repo is, I don't know. It's just the latest state of what it was when I finished working on it, I guess.
Well, so what I'm hearing is that much like when we talked to C5 Spider, the reason he started doing it was because he wanted to learn something, right? So your intention was to learn C Sharp right back in 2018. So you and now a colleague of mine, XPN, sat down and sort of threw together a project to learn it and play with it, because it was, I think for a lot of people, C Sharp is still the hot stuff, but back in 2018, it was definitely the hot stuff. It was, oh my god, AMSI patch, much fail, wow. It was the whole shebang around that. So it's interesting. So, and I recall you starting a YouTube series, but did you just like didn't it catch on, or was it too much effort for the value we're getting in return? Because I recall those being like proper high quality, unlike what you're viewing right now. Proper high quality talks about how to actually do development, like proper development techniques and methodologies, and fancy words like unit testing. So
Yeah,
did you stop because like you didn't get no return for it, or was it more like yeah?
well, two reasons really. Originally, my intention was to release a YouTube series where I would publish videos in parallel with development of the tool, but the production of the videos was too slow in compared to the rate that I was actually pumping out code, and I wanted to develop the tool faster than I was able to do the videos, and I felt like the videos were kind of they were slowing me down basically. So I was like, well, I basically don't want to do this anymore.
I gotcha.
Um,
And I guess if you end up, if you end up doing a bunch of development between the videos don't start to make sense anymore, and then there's no point doing that either.
yeah, and then when I don't know how many videos in, I went back and looked at like the original few, and I was like, oh, this is just bollocks.
Okay.
I'd already gone back and refactored so much code and changed so much, so I was just like, this is just not making any sense anymore. And I certainly didn't want to go and record more videos of me just changing code that I'd written in a previous video. So it was all basically just a bit too messy, and I thought this is not really helping anyone, so I removed it. Uh, is basically the story behind that.
And then I'm guessing you probably took everything you learned from that process, both creating SharpC2 multiple times. I'm guessing doing it in terms of like a YouTube series, which the great thing about the great thing about creating like tutorials or how tos or walkthroughs on stuff that you already know or don't necessarily know that much about is that it forces you to properly learn what you're doing in order to explain it out. So I'm guessing, well, obviously, you probably already knew a ton about what you were doing, but you probably learned a lot of what you were doing along the way because you were forced to in order to create like proper quality YouTube videos. So I'm
Yeah.
guessing that whole project just like steamed or like snowballed into what is now the development course, like the C2 development course.
Yeah, that's right. I took a bunch of uh, my learnings, I guess, from like the many iterations of SharpC2 that I'd done, and yeah, decided to do a more fully fledged out course that was more structured. Because again, the problem with the YouTube videos is I never really planned them, and they were just they were just a bit random. Um, but the course is a lot more structured.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? Given it's a course. So is it is it in the same format as the Red Team Operations one? I've only done the Red Team Operations one. Is it like the same sort of style and format, or is it all video based? Or
It's all video based
okay,
because, I mean, if you've ever tried to uh, write uh, a course or anything around coding, I don't know. I just felt like it was really difficult to follow. So I just thought, bollocks to it, I'll just do videos.
yeah, I guess it makes more sense.
I
Yeah.
mean, I mean that was just me. I just couldn't. I mean, written, whatever. I'd I'd put a lot of words down, and I was reading it back to myself, and I was just thinking, you know what? If I didn't know anything about C sharp, this would just make no sense to me. You know, especially when you're, you know, jumping between different classes or different parts of your application, it's really hard to follow that in a written format. So ultimately, that's why I went with the video.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. And it's also theoretically much less time consuming. At least once you get going, it is than writing it all down. Probably initially. Why are you gonna complain about this? Really? Well, technically we don't. Okay, give me a second. I need to sign in. So the state of SharpC2 now is she basically just whenever you want to do updates, you do updates. It's not meant to be used, or that's
Well,
wrong. But I think we talked about that on Discord privately a couple of times in terms of like how hard or how much you want to make it pre-weaponized for like abuse and stuff. Do you want to touch on it or no?
no, I definitely, yeah, more than happy to touch on that because I am very much aware of how open source tooling can be abused legitimate or abused legitimately abused by real threat actors, um, and I wasn't completely comfortable with putting a C2 framework out there that somebody could just pick up and use to do bad things. So I had sort of decided that there were some features that I was not going to include. Um, and those features were more around protecting the implant and the framework itself from detection.
Right.
Because I felt like that if somebody was going to pick it up and use it, then it should be easy-ish to for defenders to actually pick up. So I think there are things like the C2 traffic is not encrypted or anything like that. It's all plain text in JSON, so you can just inspect it going over the wire and things like that.
Yeah. No.
Uh,
No. So I think there's no certificates and or no key exchange, right?
yeah, that's right. So between the team server is API driven. So between the client and the team server is just HTTP. There's no SSL there. And then the C2 traffic between the implant and the team server is also just HTTP, and there's no encryption on the actual messages. So if you look to the HTTP traffic, you would just see, just plain text JSON going across the wire.
Okay, so somebody actually tipped something. So I'm just gonna have to address that. So Waited tipped me $7 and told me not to spend it on a Tesla. Facepalm. Thank you so much for the tip, Waited. I won't spend it on a Tesla. I'll probably just drink it. So, but that's great. Thank you so much for that. So
Can I?
somebody, yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, can I answer a question that just popped up in the chat
Yeah, I was
by?
just about to say, please answer the question. She just popped up in chat.
Well, are we looking at the same one? Was it? Oh, geez, these people with their names, man. M, MK Aster,
Yeah,
McAster 13,
McCaster. Yeah, sure.
McAster
I had
13.
no
I imagine McAster 1 through 12 was already taken.
idea. Sorry, go ahead.
Uh, so the question is, if I could select any language to do a C2, regardless of the language, which one would you choose? So I think that the best language to write for the implant anyway is still C.
Native C.
Yeah, and that's it. No context behind the answer.
That's how it is. That's just no questions asked about that. So I would say, not being a C guy, that would suck for me, and I would probably make a sucky framework. But I would say C sharp is one of those languages where you could just really put like the meat out there so fast because you don't have to mess about with doing it like half properly, which you have to do with C, or your application is just gonna like eat memory, crash, and be shitty and unstable. With C sharp, you can just get away with doing whatever the frick you want, right? It just handles it for you. So I would say, you yeah, if you want to be serious about making a C2, the third revision is going to be the good one. So maybe doing like the first revision in C sharp in order to get a bunch of like the fundamentals in and how you want to do stuff, and then moving on to something could be a good idea. But yeah, probably still native. I think we have had the age of PowerShell, where PowerShell was just freaking insane, overpowered, used everywhere. Nobody had detections for it, nothing. And then when we hit C sharp, where that was overpowered, we used it to invoke unmanaged PowerShell. That was super powered, and now we're sort of almost back at the start again, where we just native languages in C. I know a lot of people played around with like a NIM and Golang, which compiles to C, which would also work. But yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm never going to create a C2, so I shouldn't answer that. So go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I mean, I was this comment from Destroy Will say NIM compiles to C, so like shrug, but I don't really know what that means because C sharp compiles down to well, it doesn't compile to C, but it compiles down to native machine code, which every language has to do that
So
to
yeah,
execute.
so we have
Is it?
a internal tool that I created that is initially she and she. Wow, initially she. That is initially C sharp, and we cross build that across all platforms. And yeah, the final binary is going to be 70 megs, but it isn't going to have any dependencies, and it can run everywhere. So, but I mean, that would be a shitty implant, of course. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at I mean, C sharp. It goes through an IRL, an intermediary language, and it runs inside the runtime. But the runtime ultimately translates everything down to machine code, and you can actually forward compile what is it called, AOT, ahead of time compilation. You can actually compile C sharp down to native code and produce a native executable from C sharp. So it all kind of comes down to the behaviors and the chances for detection that you want or don't want your implant to have, really.
So just while we keep talking, I'm just fixing my dependencies on my VM, installing that 6.0 or earlier, so I can actually run the team server. It used to be core or something, right? I think I don't know if you did it recently, but the last time I played with it, I recall it being core.
Yeah, I mean, because it was 2018 originally, I think
Yep.
probably the original team server was core .NET Core 3.1,
Yep.
and then it was .NET 5, and I think it's either .NET 5 now or .NET 6. No, .NET 6 is LTS now, I think. Is it?
Yep.
Was
I think you follow the current development in the C sharp more than me. I think you were talking about the new like GUI something framework, whatever. I haven't followed that all.
Oh yeah. So let's think.
Oh
One
yeah.
of
Let's think.
well,
I know where this is going. I know where this is about to go.
well,
Sorry, but
one of my things was for SharpC2 was just to have one solution in Visual Studio, and of course, because it was an opportunity for me to learn C sharp, I wanted everything to be C sharp. So when it came to the clients, originally I wanted a GUI, but I wanted a GUI that was written in C sharp. Um, and your options for that several years ago was either WinForms, which was already deprecated at that point, or WPF, which is the Windows Presentation Framework. And clues in the name, the Windows Presentation Framework is not cross-platform. It only runs on Windows. So in lieu of and not counting third-party frameworks like Avalonia and things like that, the only way to get a cross-platform client C Sharp was to go with a .NET Core CLI type of client, because .NET Core was obviously cross-platform. But the new GUI that I'm writing is written in .NET MAUI, because .NET MAUI is Microsoft's new GUI framework for everything. So it works across Windows, Mac OS, Android, and iOS. So you can have one single project that uses either XAML for your front end or C# for your front end and C# for your back end, and it will run on literally everything, which I think is just like.
Nice.
So that's what I'm writing at the moment.
Let's see if I can. Okay, so I'm gonna switch over to my screen now. We're gonna get into the actual setup, and I'm already having issues, probably because I'm running it and not just building it forehand. So I actually managed to get the team server up and running just by doing .NET Run instead of building and then pointing to the DLL. So currently hosted locally at port 8443 HTTPS. So that's going to be a self-signed certificate, I'm guessing. And then, I just defined the password. So this is the password that you initially need to talk to the team server. I'm going to find the folder. So yeah, that's from the team server folder in the SharpC2 repository. Then if you go into the client folder, you should be able to do .NET build probably. And that should spit out the DLL in client bin debug something, especially, or if you build for debug, you're just going to do that. That's 6. And then .NET SharpC2 DLL, .api. Oh yeah, I already fucked up. Give me a second. It's client? No. SharpC2.exe. Okay, so it compiles for a binary. Since we're on Windows, there we go. Now we give it to server, so localhost. Do I have to give it HTTPS in the IP name or just the IP? It looks like just the IP.
Just the IP, I think.
8443. Nick.
And I'm gonna say I think, because I haven't looked at the master branch for like a long time.
Your open source product isn't guaranteed to work out of the box. What is this?
Well, I mean, I can't really comment intelligently about it, even though I wrote it.
I'm kidding, of course. Guys, then it's going to give me a thumbprint, which I'm going to accept either way because I have no way to verify it. So sure. Oh, and then I give it a double Y, which it probably didn't like. There we go. And then we have the autocomplete. And I think I even managed to make you change this at some point, right? Because I think it annoyed the frick out of me that I had to start typing the beginning of the command in order to autocomplete it, and that way I couldn't autocomplete any command.
Yeah, so this package here that's responsible for the autocomplete, I stole from a project called C# REPL. So I can't take credit for any of that. I don't think. I just ripped it off another project.
Gotcha. So handlers is probably going to be listeners. We can go into the handlers manager and then we can do help. That will list out the command. So we see start and stop and list. So if we list, we see we have no handlers. We probably need to create one. So create one, name and type. So name is going to be my first handler, and then I can't autocomplete more, but I'm guessing a type is going to be HTTP, right?
There's I think if you type H, maybe it will autocomplete.
This is the thingy. So if I do space and then hit tab, nothing happens. But yeah, this isn't your fault. This is the package. This is a package thing.
Yeah, but I think there's also a keyboard shortcut.
Yeah, I recall that, but I didn't get it to work. I recall that. Yeah.
I can't even remember what the keyboard shortcut is either. So
no, I recall us talking about this on Discord, and then I found the keyboard shortcut thingy, and I just like typed it and it didn't work. But yeah, so if you do a command, you remove the command, then you get them. So let's do HTTP, cool. And then if we list, so there we go, running any way I can get like okay, so set. Okay, I recall this. So set, and then I have to set the properties for the handler, and again, no autocomplete because the command doesn't work. But if I do set okay, there we go. And now I can do like, if I do B, go back, and then I can see all the options. So bind port, let's do, probably just going to test this on localhost. I'm just going to pick something so I don't have to rerun this as admin because that's going to be a pain. So let's do 9091. and then set my first handler, connection address. Sure, let's just set it. Oh wow, lol. It's 253. No, it's wow, that's a high one. Set my first handler and then bind port. Yeah, connect port. Okay, so I need to change up these. There we go, and then start my first handler probably. And then it's gonna prompt me. I'm gonna be like, sure. So if you wanted to run this team server off a Linux machine, so the typical like C2 setup if you're doing a red team is that you have some sort of throwaway VPS in AWS or Azure or whatever. You create a team server from that, and then you have proxies or redirectors in front of the team server that forwards the traffic back, so you can like stop the traffic away from the team server, and that makes it more operationally secure. So in this case, you would just do .NET Run, because .NET, this is .NET 6, right? Or 5, either one. It can run it runs cross-platform, so you could just do .NET Run on the Linux server, or do .NET Build and then .NET and the DLL that it outputs. So this would work fine on the Linux server. It would bind on the local host, and then you just SSH port forward to it to reach it. And then this is the client that would be the CobbleStrike GUI or whatever that you can connect to once you do that SSH port forward tunnel. I feel like I'm saying this on every stream that I talk about C2s, and I probably have, but probably can't get it out enough. Don't host your team server externally exposed. Put it behind redirectors. Cool, so now we have a handler. If we do list, we have my first handler. It's running, cool. So if I go back, there's probably something called payload or drone. So drones are probably active beacons, right?
Yeah, so you want the payload option, yeah.
And that isn't that isn't like a sub menu. That's just payload and then my first handler, and then if I do space something, I can get the format. So raw power. Okay, PowerShell, cool. Let's do that, and then yeah, obviously. So will this generate a PowerShell script for me then, or just like give me the output?
It'll drop the script whatever path you give it.
Okay, so path or file, and just path.
You want the file name as well, probably.
Out PS1. Oh, we didn't like it. And now I have to. Okay, so this is no worries. We can just reconnect. The handler is still going to be running. Hopefully. Yeah, it is, because it's a team server. That's the whole point of it. List, it's still running. Let's go back. Then let me copy this command again. So uncharacter, path value, portion 0. So maybe I have to escape it? / escape?
I don't know.
What, isn't this your kidding? Out PSA1. Nope. Didn't like it. Okay, let's try a different target since we're having issues with that. exe temp. Do not find path temp. That's cool. Out foo.exe. Sure. Didn't like the PowerShell one. And then, actually, do we have dnspy? I want to take a look at what this looks like.
Oh no! Don't read my source code.
What? Are you gonna like invoke like copyright? Oh, don't reverse my stuff. To be fair, I can just read the stub, but I want to see what it replaces. Is what I'm trying.
It's just highly embarrassing. Also,
what this is what I do. Like if I can't make a fool of myself, I have to make a fool of somebody, and you're here, so.
Yeah, no, that's why you wanted me on stream.
Yeah. I should have told you that before I got you on stream. My bad.
Gotcha.
So drone DLL. Wow, it's neatly packed, and then it probably has dn merge to include the third-party dependencies, or is it just like clean and you just pulled out the stuff from the 7-zip lib or NuGet?
No, I think it does use dn merge because I have things like minhook
and SharpC2. Yeah. Okay, so let's see if I remember how to get to the entry point. I'm such a good reverse engineer. Nope. Program, execute, new drone start, initialize a new class, and then it Okay, so we sets a global config that generates a new default config, which is where all the values are stored in the
Yeah, so
class.
one of the things to
Ah,
know about the way payloads are generated is that it uses the dnlib library. So when you generate a payload at runtime, there's the like core drone DLL that is like embedded in the team server, and then what it does is it uses dnlib to patch in specific values. The obvious ones are the handler values, so the connect address and the connect port, they're patched in at runtime. And then there's a C2 profile as well, and that patches certain values in at runtime as well. And that's all, well, I think most of that is controlled in the in that in the config.
there we go. Metadata. Now that's related to the drone information, so it must be the config. And I'm seeing drone config public class dictionary. Okay, yeah, so it's just like a set of dictionaries. You can have whatever you want. That's going to be the default dictionary C#. So this needs to be declared somewhere. So references to config. Oh, I'm so bad at this. Okay, so now I'm being made a fool of. That's fine, right? I'm pretty sure there should be like a find. No, that's probably too much for a compiler. Okay, let's go back and see. So I see this. So it's an initialization. It takes it to information. It probably does the connection back. So it get new hook engine. It should be this generate default config, new drum config. That's fine. But then it only adds like there's no connection back information here. So where is that added?
That'll be probably in that directly in the handler. So if you go to the drone.handlers namespace, which is in your menu on the left-hand side.
I'm not gonna do what you say. Okay, sorry.
Okay,
Handlers.
don't do what I say. That's fine.
There we go. Oh, I recall talking about this last time. This is cool.
Yeah, so I think if you scroll down right down to the bottom.
Yeah, there we go. So connection port connection. These are the values that we set. Calculate sleep time, some helper util that we pull from the config. Okay, cool. So does this like 100% follow what you teach in the course, or are you making silly mistakes here that you don't teach about in the course?
Well, I leave a bunch of stuff out of the course that I thought were too complicated.
Okay. Look at or listen to him, guys. Too complicated for you?
Well, not no. I suppose
Kidding.
I suppose that's harsh. I mean, when I'm writing a course, there's a balance between this is interesting and this is getting like a bit boring now.
Yeah, I get you.
And when you're writing like this type of like framework and tooling, there's a lot of I don't want to call it boilerplate, but there's a lot of stuff that you have to put in before it actually functions in any way. Um, and there's a lot you have to develop before you actually see anything cool. And I just kind of sometimes I feel like if you don't see the cool thing quickly enough, then it's just going to turn people off. So there's a bunch of stuff that's not in the course that could be there, but it's not in there because I felt like it was a bit boring.
That makes sense as well because you're trying to make a course to hit as many people as possible. So you want to hit those who are sort of already fluent or whatever with C#, and you want to hit those who haven't really dived into it yet. At the same time, as you want to, as you said, try to show them one of the coolest things initially, so to keep them going through the course. Even though actually you shouldn't care about that though, but that's you know what I mean, because you only got paid for it. But I totally get you. If you want to make good courses, that's the attitude you gotta have. You gotta keep try to what's it called, like a red line or whatever, like you have within books. Have like a red line within the course to keep people interested. So that's really cool though, and it would be a heck of a course if you went through absolutely everything that you did with SharpC2. That would be a massive course.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of stuff in there like reverse port forwarding is not in there, and more complicated integrations between the implant and the team server are not there, just because it would be, you know, just the level of complexity to try and show that in a course is just a bit crazy.
I think the last time we talked about SharpC2, you had So you patched AMSI and ETW before each task. How is your approach to that now? Is it more like with Couple Track, you just enable it and then it's patched for everything, or do you still do that unpatching patching per command to try to stay more blended?
I think what's in master is the patch and patch. So I think so yeah, I mean, just reading what's on the screen that you've got there is the bypass command sets a directive to bypass AMSI and ETW on tasks. So the bypass uses the minhook engine. You've broken it again now, bloody hellfire. So when you define a task in SharpC2, there's a flag that you can say it's hookable or not. And basically what the implant will do is, prior to executing a command that it knows is hookable, it will hook AMSI and ETW first, execute your task, and then unhook those things to restore them back to the way they were.
Okay.
And I wrote a whole blog post on that about why that might be important to somebody.
Yeah, especially TW is a lot of like telemetry that if you kill might end up breaking like obviously EDR solutions are going to look at multiple sources of information on the computer, everything from kernel callbacks to ETW to other like separate user land services they have loaded to gather telemetry. But if you can break, say, ETW, which is like a huge telemetry output, you might be able to break some of the rules altogether because it doesn't align up anymore, right? It doesn't make sense if you lose one of those key elements in the bigger picture. So I guess that's why that is important. And I think what you're talking about the mini hook library is more back about not patching out the function entirely, but just skipping it for the portion that you're doing what you're doing, and then it's fine again, right? If I recall that correctly.
Yeah, so the blog post that I wrote actually goes into a way that a defensive product could look at different process memories and see if important function calls have been patched. So the way that you traditionally, if you do memory patching, you have to do something like load library to get a handle to AMSI DLL, and then you do like get proc address to find where the exported function is of something like AMSI scan buffer. And then you would actually reach into that memory and patch it with like a ret or something like that. And so it would be really easy for a defensive product to be able to do the same thing, is to actually look at basically inspect important functions within a process and see if they've been patched or not. And in the blog post, I wrote a whole thing where a tool that scans processes and reports back on anywhere AMSI DLL is patched or whatever. So the point of the hook unhook thing is to actually keep that memory patch only in place for the amount of time that you need it, and not just lying around for the whole time.
Right, so that makes sense in the super typical example of ANSI scan buffer. If you can see those 3 bytes are patched, then you know that it's broken and therefore something is obviously wrong. And that's really interesting because that's something we have been screaming at so gonna shameless plug the AMSI failed project right now, but like all the AMSI patching techniques that you and XPN and I want to say probably multiple others as well, but CCOB and like Ethical Chaos comes to mind as well, has demonstrated basically just breaks very specific functions within like the AMSI DLL that's loaded in memory, or like the right. So if Defender actually checked like did integrity check on the DLL loaded, it would easily be able to detect that the DLL in memory has been changed from what it should be, right? So the reason why Defender is still doing the whole signature thing is just, yeah, it's interesting, right? Or am I stupid by saying that? Oh, it's a pause.
That's the last person to ask if that's stupid or not, because I'm pretty stupid myself.
No, why are you saying this? No, but yeah, I think like I think I tried to call it out on the AMSI fail website as well. Is that the best way to detect AMSI being patched is to be able to tell if somebody has tampered with the functions in memory loaded by AMSI-DLL. If you can detect that tampering, then any AMSI patch is going to get detected. And then Ethical Chaos talked about some cool patchless AMSI bypasses. I don't know if that is the one where he hooks the C# execute load file one in order to like pretend there's a file on disk, because that function won't check AMSI because it's on disk and therefore it should already be scanned. But yeah, there's a bunch of really cool techniques getting around AMSI. End of the day, if you're not in C#, you're not gonna have issues with AMSI. It's mainly a C# PowerShell thing, right? So
I mean, you might, depending on what your implant does, you might not care about it. I mean, if you look at the way Cobalt Strike in particular uses fork and run, you know, it will spawn a process, it will patch out AMSI, it will then load the post-XDLL and do its thing, and then the process will close. And so you probably don't care about the state of that process for any length of time because it's not going to stick around. But with C# or .NET implants, that they do more, or it's easier in C# to do more inline executions with assembly.load and things like that, that it probably becomes more of a concern. So it all depends on like what your implant is, written in and what its behaviors are and things like that.
Yeah, the whole fork and run operation is like, I don't know for you, but like during my engagements, fork and run operations are basically just a no-go. Nope, can't do it.
Yeah, well, I have the luxury now of because I just do training now, is that I don't actually have to suffer the pain of real life engagements anymore.
Oh, the pain.
But I think it was always a trade-off, wasn't it? I mean, one of the reasons why Cobalt Strike liked to do fork and run was for the stability of the beacon.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, yeah, for sure. So highly depends on which what host you land on. You know what I mean? What sort of insight, what sort of stuff they have installed.
A great example was what project was it? It was one of the Ghost Pack ones from Spectre Ops, I think. I'm not sure if it was Rubius or I think maybe it was Seatbelts. So a bunch of places inside Seatbelt, it would call environment.exit. Somewhere in its error handling, if it got to a point where it didn't like what was going on, instead of just returning and then letting the executable just finish, it would explicitly call environment.exit, and that was fine if you were executing it within a fork and run context, because who cares if the spawn process dies, because who gives a crap. But when you're doing, if in a C# implant, if you're doing assembly.load and you're loading seatbelt into your implant, as soon as it calls environment.exit, it kills your implant.
Yep. Imagine troubleshooting that on the gig because you didn't like eternally read through the code you were about to execute. Like, why the frick did my implant die? Yeah, you ran a C# tool who calls environmental exit. Didn't Ethical Chaos make like a blog post about that as well? Patching out potential environmental exits in software? I think I recall that, right?
Yeah, I think it was him or Domshell.
Oh no, it's Domshell. Okay.
It was one of them. I did see something like that.
Somebody did that. That's one we concept right there. Yeah, no, it's really interesting. So yeah, I guess back to SharpC2. I think so. Do you want to touch on? So obviously with C# having proper modularity is, well, I won't say easy, but like if you're going to do it simply just by assembly load, it's really easy, right? You can just have any of these commands be totally separate modules that spawn up in a new thread and return output. And then the team server has the responsibility of pushing down the actual data that's about to get loaded. It returns the output, you push it back up, whatever, right? So doing this in C# is probably way easier than doing it in something natively, guessing. Do you want to talk about I haven't done the development course, but is that an approach you talk about in the development course, or is it Like again, maybe too technical for the course time or material.
No, so definitely in SharpC2 and in the course, these like post-text commands are designed to be modular for the user to expand. And we geez, can you hear that? Can you hear that crying in the background? My God.
Somebody is unhappy. Yep.
That's my 2-year-old, I think, is very unhappy. I'm just gonna
If you have to go,
yeah.
you go.
No, my door's closed. As long it depends how much it's bothering the stream. Yeah, I mean, if you look at something like the way Covenant works, Covenant uses Roslyn on the team server side to compile C# source code into a DLL, and then it pushes that DLL down to the grunt, and it just calls assembly.load on it, executes whatever it's going to execute, and then sends the results back. If you look at I mean, I'm not using any Roslyn or anything like that, so SharpC2 works in a different way. But every one of these like post-text commands inherits from an abstract class. So an abstract class, it provides you like a sort of template to base your additional commands on. And that makes it pretty easy for you to just create a new class, inherit from the base class, and then your command then gets given everything it needs to function, and then you can just plug in the bits that you need it to do, and away you go. So you'd get a sense of that if you looked at the source code, but it does make expanding it pretty easy, and it also makes it really easy to implement post-text capabilities that are not actually built into the drone, but then they can be pushed at runtime. Because C# is .NET really is really versatile. You can push things at runtime and do really clever things with reflection and what have you.
So I was curious. So you mentioned that Covenant uses Roslyn in order to compile.
Yeah. So I think what you want to do is go into the actual drone solution rather than the client solution.
So drone solution and then core.
I'm looking at your stream, so I'm a bit behind, but drone module is the one you want. So that's the abstract class.
Okay, so that's the one you have to inherit, and it has all the key features that you need to be able to create a module, right? So has arguments, has command. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, so those things, most of what's actually in there tells the client what the command is and what it needs. So whenever you are interacting with a command in the client and it's doing auto suggest and things like that, it's getting that from these things here. And then if you go and have a look in one of the actual commands, you'll see one of the implementations. So I don't know, if you choose something simple like the ls command, wherever that lives. Yeah, it's in the core module somewhere, yeah.
So let's do sleep. So you would do new command, and then there's the name of the description. Drone callback is related to. Okay, yeah, so that's the actual command then, right?
Yeah. So the way it works is that when you send a task down from the team server to the implant, it has a name, and then the implant will look up the actual command it needs to run by its name, and then dynamically invoke the correct method to do that.
Right, so the directory is host get current directory, which is just a helper function. And then if the target's argument length is more than 0, then we need to apply those arguments. The directory, okay, yeah, so we basically, let's do the get directory listing as an example. It checks for arguments. If there's an argument, then that argument is the directory you want to list. If there is no argument, then we're assuming that the current directory is the directory you want to list. Then there's the actual host get directory listing, which does the listing. So it lists, so this isn't just, path, get files or whatever. It does some more information. You want to get file, like file timestamps, length size, lost access, stuff like that.
And so that's
takes the result. Yeah, sorry.
That's pilfered pretty much straight from SharpCloud.
Okay, gotcha.
But since I am like the second highest contributor to SharpCloud, I didn't really feel sorry about doing that.
I mean, I wouldn't either. Just give proper credits and you can steal whatever you want. That's my opinion,
Yeah.
at least, right? So where is this stored? So this is the all right. So this is part of SharpCloud, and that's why. So if I wanted to push, so I could just have the only reason that isn't here is because you have the SharpCloud library built in, so there's no reason to have like extended functionality here. But if I wanted to implement something, let's say I wanted to implement yeah, I don't have a good example. Whatever, if I wanted to like start a new calc or whatever. So let's do private void.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to expand the capabilities of the drone, there are two options. You can do it here where you're doing it, which is actually inside the drone itself, and
Right.
then it'll be embedded in the drone.
I recall this.
Um, or if you look in the solution, you have that folder at the top called drone modules. So you can create
Yeah, I recall this.
commands that are their own DLLs and then push them at runtime. So I think there's a command called like load module or something.
Gotcha. Right. So you
Um,
would. So this module is just like a client library in .NET Framework C Sharp, and it has all of the bits it needs itself, and then it has this main sort of module class that inherits from drone module, which is a reference to drone modules. Okay, gotcha. And then you would compile this to the. I recall doing this. I don't know what I created, but I recall testing this at some point. And then you compile that to a DLL, and then you can just load that DLL, and that will be pushed down. So yeah, so that answers my question. I was going to initially ask that Covenant uses Roslyn to compile the source code modules to binaries and then push it over. But you, in this case, you expect the user to have the DLL ready. Then you push it over, and then the drone already knows what it's supposed to look for because you share the drone model abstract class, and then that just works, right? So I could, as long as I don't change, I'm guessing like the public override command or whatever, as long as I don't change the names that the drone module forces me to implement, I could obfuscate this all I want, and you would be good to go, right?
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I recall doing this, making like a dummy module, something at another stream. So you actually have like a steal token, make token rev to self. You got that implemented by default as well, or so can you have like obviously I know you're like this isn't to be used at any stage other than probably a lab environment or as a great reference for creating something, creating a private fork or whatever. But say I have a bunch of custom modules that I want to load at startup. Is there like, can I just add that at some point, or would I just have to like make an RC script and load it, or a script or whatever?
You actually can, but I think you'd have to modify the source code of the team server itself.
Okay, to load that, gotcha.
So
All right.
when a drone first checks in, the team server will automatically push several DLLs down to it.
Okay. You want to do like an educated guess for how we're able to find that? Probably controllers, drone controller, and then just go from there. So
I think it'll be in one of the services.
services, drone,
Probably
SharpC2 service.
something called a drone service, maybe.
There we go. Get type, class of module, load default modules. So self in type of get types if sub. Okay, this is dynamic. This isn't hard coded. I don't know why you're feeling ashamed. You're basically pulling out every instance of a module from the team server, right?
Yeah, so the team server is expandable at runtime the same way as the drone is. And
There we go. All right.
what I really dislike is people who write tools where they'll like have a look at the like a command name or something, and they'll either have like a massive if if case or like a big switch case that says, if the command is ls, then execute this. If the command is this, then execute this. I really dislike that because it's really hard to it's hard to maintain as like an author, but it's also hard for people to expand it, I guess. So in the SharpC2 world, all you have to do is create a new instance of the drone module, and the drone will just automatically load it because it uses reflection to run through itself and instantiates all instances of the drone. You know, everything that inherits from drone module, it will load up magically, and you don't really have to do anything else.
So what that piece of code we just saw does is that it looks for all classes that are of type module or inherits from module, and then it loads it. So you have actually some here in under modules. You have the core module with which adds like
It just
yeah.
it just registers like standard output.
Okay.
So whenever like a string gets sent back, then that basically handled there.
You could jump off if you have to attend to your kid, dude.
Jeez, I'm not opening that door.
So I was okay. So if I wanted to add my own module into here, I would just drag and drop the module and then reference the module from here. No.
I will tell you when you are done. You shout down the hallway just to tell me you're not having glory.
I'm just laughing at what I can hear behind me. It's not funny. It's terrible.
Oh, I think I heard like a really strict mom telling somebody to stop screaming as well, right?
Yeah, she's gonna really tell me off as well.
No, get off, man.
It's fine.
We have to end it soon, guys, but I just wanted to get up. If I wanted to have my modules preloaded by the start, that would be just adding them to the modules in the team server and they would be loaded. If whatever I reference from is fine as long as it inherits from the module class.
Yeah, and then when you send output from the drone, you can tag it with a module name. So then when the output reaches the team server will send that output to the module that you intended.
Okay.
So in the case of like the reverse port forward, the packets coming back from the drone are tagged with that ARP or R port forward name. And so those packets are then passed to this module to handle the actual, forwarding and relaying of the data.
Right, because that does something that isn't just simply returning information, it's actively changing something on the client side, or the team server side, I should say, and therefore, yeah, you want to handle that by registering it with the tag.
Yeah.
So, yeah, cool. Okay.
I haven't really thought of a better way to do it than giving it like a sort of tag or a name. It could be like it could be an enum, or it could be anything that you choose really. But the problem with an enum is that they have to be predefined on both ends, I guess. And I don't know. It just seemed to me that the easiest way, if somebody wanted to expand it, then they could just come up with their own module name.
Yeah, you would. I mean, if you would have to just decide if there are multiple different types of modules, or just like you have modules that return client information, you have modules that does something to the team server or client, and then as you said, I would have just an enum or just a bool like internal module, CLI module, or something obviously better named.
Yeah, I mean, I fight with philosophical sort of like debates because a framework.
Important questions.
Yeah, I mean, because a framework is supposed to be something that you can leverage
Right.
without having to modify its core. So anything that's predefined in the actual framework itself, like if you have to modify anything inside the framework, then it's not really a framework. If you see what I mean?
I gotcha. Right. So the framework is it's supposed to be like SharpSploit is a good example of a framework because you can easily integrate it into your existing project by just pulling from it and then implementing it. Right. So it should be very object oriented, and it should be easy to implement. So if you bake very specific features into it, you take away some of that flexibility. So design choice doesn't really matter though, and like in the end, it's either having a bool here that tells the other end that this is a module that you should interpret different, or a string or whatever, right? So minor design choices.
Yeah, so when it comes to if SharpC2 didn't have reverse port forwarding, right? You could implement it by creating your own team server module and your own drone module, but then you wouldn't have to modify anything to do with the actual framework itself. And that's kind of why the modules have the identifying name, because those modules, the only bits that you should be modifying, you shouldn't have to dig into any other areas of the framework to make your modules work.
It's of type team server module. Okay, yeah, no, that I agree. And then this is probably it's the same type. Okay. So I think for the sake of your poor wife and you being told off, I think we're gonna try to round this off, right? So we've already been at it for like an hour and a half almost, so that's more than plenty for my Sunday streams, especially when I don't plan for anything. And you literally told you jumped on like halfway, or not halfway, like a couple of minutes into the stream. So appreciate you jumping on, even though you should totally be attending to your child, and you have questionable parenting skills. Coming from a guy who doesn't even have a kid, I can say that, right? Totally fair. No, but awesome, good stuff. I think SharpC2 sort of puts out the baseline of what things you should think about for the C2 or when creating your C2 from scratch. Obviously, your course is killer. Again, check out the affiliate links in the Twitch channel if you're looking to buy some of his courses. Those are great. Are the videos still available on YouTube?
No, I don't think so. I took those down a while ago.
Okay, well
then. But I might. I might bring them back. Like when I finish the Maui GUI and things like that, and when the project's actually in a place where I don't think I'm going to change it much anymore, then I'll probably do put some more content about it out there.
I think so. I totally agree with that. Obviously, I get that you want to have like a certain standard or whatever, you know what I mean, of the stuff you push out. But my thought is that if there is anything you can push out there that somebody at some point views and can relate to and or learn from, I say why not, right? So, and I'm like, obviously, since I'm doing this like all like I'm doing this off script and everything, so I'm really an advocate for failing live and like pushing into issues and having to troubleshoot them live, so other people can see that you are in fact not a magician that can just like spit out code and it just works on first try. You know what I mean? Try to give some of that human touch.
I'm not ScaleSec. ScaleSec is always it.
Yeah. I was like, what? Did he say Skrillex? I was like, no, ScaleSec. Okay, yeah. No, unlike ScaleSec, we have to test our code multiple times. It fails multiple times. We don't do everything correctly the first time. So we are both very different from ScaleSec. And I would also, you know what? I would put XPN in there as well. We are very different from XPN, who can literally just pull out Odays out of his bum over a weekend. Bum is apparently a thing I say now. And we're very different. We fail much more. So I'm like an advocate for showing off that the actual process of getting something done is failing. Scale's like, oh, I knew we shouldn't have played irony. He doesn't understand it. Knew it. Okay, so I think I am gone. There we go. I think we should try to get off before ScaleSec strokes himself too much. Thank you so much for joining in, Rasta. Really appreciate it. Please go attend to your poor kid that doesn't want to sleep. For your sake and his sake or her sake. And then thank you so much for jumping on, man. Talk to you later.
No problem. Cheers.
Okay, so a bit of an update on my end before I end off. I'm going to be traveling all next week. I'm definitely not going to be streaming the coming Sunday. I'm going to be jet lagged out of another world. I will, however, be creating a cringy travel vlog, which already is kind of awkward to say, but you know what? Fuck it. Why not? I bought a decent bit of kit in terms of like video and audio quality and stuff, so the production should be decent. Going to be trying to filming the whole experience, getting there and meeting the TrustedSec guys for the first time in the office and everything like that. So expect to see that on YouTube at some point. And then vacation. Yeah, it's gonna be gonna turn into a girl. I want to see. Yeah, it's gonna be great though. So thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I won't see you next Sunday, but hopefully I'll see you the Sunday after that. Enjoy Monday when it comes. I want to see. Oh my god! I have to.